Hello everyone, Phoenix Knight here. Welcome to the channel, and welcome to a new playthrough on the channel. Christmas in Arkham is over now, and we debuted Final Girl last week. We finished a sweep of Shub-Niggurath and Christmas in Arkham by a score of 3-0. So, before I go any further in this video, I do want to apologize in advance for any background noise you might catch in this video. I am out visiting my family for Christmas time, but I am going to still make a couple of videos while I'm out here. So, if you hear any background noise, that's what that is. But anyway, this week we're back to gameplay and starting a space-themed week on the channel with a very familiar deck builder. Today we're going to play Star Realms from Wise Wizard Games. Wise Wizard Games has another Star Realms related Kickstarter that I've backed. They just came out with their Rise of Empire Kickstarter, which is a legacy game, and I'm all in on that. So anyway, I will unbox that on the channel once I receive it, but that probably won't be until next summer, we're thinking. Anyway, as for Star Realms, I've played this on the channel before. It's a very simple deck builder. If you've been following the Hero Realms background campaign as well, you'll recognize it from that. You'll pick this up in no time flat. The only differences are really, whereas Hero Realms is a fantasy setting, Star Realms, hence the name, we're in space. But anyway, the solo mode in this game consists of a group of special bosses, whereas, like I said, it's the campaign in Hero Realms. Hero Realms does come with boss encounters, too. We played one of those as part of the background campaign, and we got hammered in that encounter. But anyway, we are going to take on a new boss in this playthrough, so let's go meet the boss for this encounter. Today we're taking on the Nemesis beast. Slightly different from the Dimensional Horror, but it does have ally abilities similar to the Dimensional Horror. We'll zoom in on that. We'll zoom in on the boss card here. So if the boss gains a Star Empire ally ability, then each player, aka me, discards 2 cards. Blob special ability says for each player, the boss destroys either a base or gains 3 combat. Machine Cult, each player puts a random card in their hand on top of their deck. And then Trade Federation, for each player, the boss gains 5 authority. So that's going to be a little bit annoying, but nothing we can do about that. Anyway, we do have special rules with this boss. Of course, the boss has no hand, deck, or discard pile. If a player would make the boss discard a card, that player draws a card, then discards a card instead. If a player would destroy a base, that player gains 3 combat instead. In step 5 of the boss order of play, so when the boss goes to... Let me double check it here, because I was just looking at this earlier. When the boss goes to determine a faction ally ability to gain, when using multi-faction and or factionless cards from other Star Realms sets, if the revealed card has more than one faction, the players choose one of those factions to determine which special ability the boss gains that turn. And if the revealed card has no faction, the players choose any faction to determine which special ability the boss gains that turn. So potentially a way we can help control things there. But anyway, last up, let's go take a look at my starting hand and the starting market. The mat actually is a new mat on the channel. I got this as part of my last trip to Noble Knight Games when I was on my way out here. It's actually from Hero Realms. So it's actually for Hero Realms, I should say. So the terminology will be slightly different, but everything will basically function the same way. So whereas we have a sacrifice pile over here, we will actually call that the scrap heap. So anyway, moving down so taking a look at our starting hand first after I get done jarring the camera. We see we've got a combat and 2 trade to start with. So anyway, let's take a look at our first starting trade row. So the furthest from the trade row is a Battle Screecher for 4 trade. 5 combat, you may scrap up to 5 cards currently in the trade row, so that would be start over. Then ally ability with Blob, you get 2 combat for that. Next up, Star Barge for 1 trade. You get 2 trade for playing it, and then on an ally ability, 2 combat and target opponent discards a card, which as we saw will just be draw a card, then discard a card instead. Next up, Ravager for 3 trade. 6 combat, and you may scrap up to 2 cards that are currently in the trade row. Last up, Predator for 2 trade, 4 combat when you play it, and ally ability, draw a card. A lot of blob to start the game with. And Aging Battleship for 5 trade. You get 5 combat, ally ability lets you draw a card, and then if you scrap it, you get 2 combat and draw 2 cards. And then always available will be Explorers for 2 trade. You can scrap them to get 2 combat. Anyway, I think that is everything we need to get started, so we'll play on beginner difficulty, which means we'll take 3 turns before the Nemesis beast takes a turn. So let's see if we can't get something resembling a head start on the boss. Our starting hand of 1 combat and 2 trade will hit the boss for 1, bringing it down to 49. And then for 2 trade, I'll grab the Predator. Then technically I could buy something else, but I have no trade left, replacing it in the trade row. A Warning Beacon for 2 trade. You get 2 combat, and when you acquire this card, if you played a Machine Cult card this turn, you may put this card directly into your hand. So we'll draw back up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We'll see that we've got 4 trade and a combat for our second turn before the Nemesis beast gets to take a turn. I think it's 3 turns. I'm just double checking here. I believe it's 3 turns. Yep, take 3 turns before the boss's first turn. Okay, so we'll hit the boss for another 1, bringing it down to 48. And then for 4 trade, I think I'll grab the Battle Screecher. I can grab the Star Barge pretty much anytime I want. So replacing that will be a Command Center for 4 trade, 2 combat or 2 trade when you play it, or when it's in play, and when you play a Star Empire ship, gain 2 combat. So there's definitely an argument to be made for trying to grab that if we can, but I'll explain more about that when we get into our boss's first turn. Anyway, we'll cut that, draw back up, and then this is, like I said, this is our last turn before the boss gets its first turn. Unfortunately, we're not going to be able to grab that command center because we actually have 6 combat, or 6 combat and 2 trade. So we'll hit the boss for 6, bringing him down to 42. And then for 2 trade, I think I'll grab the Star Barge for 1. Then if this is another 1 cost, I'll grab it. If not, it's going to float away. A Cargo Pod for 3 trade. This may be a good one to grab, though. 3 trade when you play it. Ally ability with Blob gets you 3 combat, then you can scrap it for another 3. So the 1 trade is going to float away. I will draw back up. 2, 3, 4, 5. Take a look at the hand. Would not mind, that might be something useful a little bit later, but anyway. So we have 4 trade, but that was our last turn before the boss gets to take a turn. So the way the Nemesis Beast takes a turn, the Nemesis Beast will scrap the card the furthest from the trade row. I'll bring it up there because it will come into play in a second. Then we'll move everything 1 position away from the trade deck. Then we'll place the scrapped card in front of the boss. Boss gains combat equal to the number of cards in front of it. Okay, so I thought it gained cards based on the gained combat based on the cost. So never mind. So it's got 1 right now. Then we reveal a new card from the trade deck to fill the empty spot, and it gets the ally abilities based on the determines which special ability the boss gains. The faction of the card revealed. So whatever is going in the trade row is what the boss will gain. So going into the trade row right now will be a Battle Barge for 4 trade. Target opponent discards a card, which will be me. If you have 2 or more bases in play, gain an additional 3 trade, and you may return target base in play to its owner's hand. Yikes. So I get hit for 1, bringing me down to 49. But we have a bigger problem on our hands, because based on that faction ability, I have to discard 2 cards. So that'll bring us back into turn 4, and it will be back to my turn. So discarding 2 cards means I'm going to lose 2 scouts. Not much I can do about that, but anyway. I'll play out the Battle Screecher first, which gives me 5 combat, and I may scrap up to 5 cards in the trade row. I think I'm just going to leave it as is. Like I said, I probably would want that more later. But anyway, the 2 trade will get me the Warning Beacon for 2 combat. And then I'll reveal Central Station for 4 trade. I need to get this if I can. 2 trade, and if I have 3 or more bases in play, including this one, I gain 4 authority and draw a card. Non-outpost strength of 5. Now, the way that's different is if the boss has enough to take it out, it will, but it has to go after outposts first. So anyway, those will move over to the discard pile. I'll draw back up. And we'll draw back up. Taking a look at the hand. This is a hand that could exactly go grab that central station if I can, but anyway. So I take another turn, scrap the cargo pod, and then we reveal a star bar, another star barge. Blast it all, so I've got to discard 2 cards again, and I get hit for another 2. Which brings me down to 47. That will do it for turn 4. Turn 5, and now we need to figure out... Now I need to figure out what my next plan is going to be. That is the second turn in a row I've had a discard, and it's actually kind of annoying right now. So I'm going to toss a scout and a viper and play out 3 scouts. One of which I'll use to get another star barge. So I have 2 left after this. I will find a Fortress Oblivion for 3 trade. If I played a base this turn, including this one, I may scrap a card in my hand or discard pile. Outpost strength of 4. Then for 2, I'll just grab an explorer. I played out 3 trade, right. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have a hand that can actually potentially get the central station, but I'm getting ahead of myself there. So anyway, the Ravager goes away, everything slides down, and here I will find Federation Shipyard for 6 trade. 2 combat, or 2 trade, and on an ally ability, put the next ship or base you acquire this turn on top of your deck. Outpost strength of 6. Let's see, the boss gains 5, which isn't the worst thing in the world. And then I get hit for 3, down to 44. Anyway, that will do it for round 4. Round 5 now, and let's see what I can put in motion. Alright, so I'll start off with the Warning Beacon for an outpost strength of 2. Then I'll play out a Battle Screecher, which can let me scrap up to 5 cards in the trade row. Actually, this is kind of bothering me a little bit, so no. I think that's just the way they were printed, so I don't want to sleeve them. I'd rather have the backs right side up, but anyway, I'll go ahead and I'll actually leave it as is. But more importantly, I'll play out the Predator, which triggers both ally abilities. So I get 2 extra trade and I get to draw a card. So I will draw another Scout. That's actually perfect because I've got 2 more in hand. I've got a total of 1, 9, 11 combat, which I'll hit the boss with, bringing the Nemesis beast down to 36. And then I have exactly enough trade to grab the central station, which I will do. And then replacing that in the trade row, aka getting scrapped right away, will be a factory world for 8 trade. Get 3 trade when it's in play. Put the next ship or base you acquire this turn into your hand. Outpost strength of 6. I'll just go ahead and scrap that right away. 1, 2, 3. I'm kind of shortcutting a little bit here, but it's all going to end up happening in the same sequence anyway. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so we'll move everything down since I already scrapped. And then going into the trade row, Starbase Omega for 4 trade. If you played a base this turn, including this one, draw a card. Non-outpost strength of 6. That's going to have me discarding 2 cards. They gain 4 combat. That's enough to take out the warning beacon and hit me for 2. Another discard of 2 cards. That is kind of obnoxious. And I haven't even looked at the hand yet. I can probably deal with that, though. So anyway, that will do it for round 5. Round 6, and once again, I've got to start it off yet again, discarding cards. Two scouts hit the bin again. And then I've got 4 trade, which is exactly enough to grab me Starbase Omega. A vast empire requires many way stations. Yes, it does. That'll move to the discard pile. I'll replace in the trade row first. I will find Frontier Station for 6, which gives you either 2 trade or 3 combat. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I wish I could have waited a turn for that, but anyway. So that will get scrapped into the boss. We'll move this all down, and then replacing it in the trade row. Convoy bot for 3 trade. You may scrap a card in your hand or discard pile. Ally ability with Machine Cult gets you 2 combat. Then the boss has 5 cards scrapped, and he'll hit me with that, bringing me down to 37. That is mildly obnoxious, but nothing I can do about it now. Round 8, and we are definitely in race mode here. Race mode is not going to be helped by the fact that I have to put a card at random from my hand back on top of my deck. So we'll give this a shuffle. And a cut, and we'll put that card back on top. And we'll see that we look like we put one of the scouts back on top. So I'll play out the central station, Starbarge, Scout, and a Viper. So I've got 1 combat. I'll hit the boss with that to bring him down to 35. Now we need to start getting combat in the deck. So I'm going to pick up the Battle Barge for 4, and then we'll replace that in the trade row with a Colony Siege Ship for 5 trade. I wish I could have kept this. 3 of each. When you acquire this card, if you played a Trade Federation card this turn, you may immediately put this card into your hand. And I had because I played the Central Station. But alas, that will end up going to waste. So I hit the boss for his 1. We'll move this over to the Actually, the Central Station stays in play. What am I doing? Although it will be moving to the discard pile in a second. 3, 4, 5. Take a look at the hand. And we see that it is not coming together today. So anyway, the Colony Siege Ship will get scrapped. We'll move everything down 1. Then replacing it. Parasite for 5 trade. 6 combat, or acquire a card of cost 6 or less for free. Ally for blob, draw a card. So for each player, the boss destroys a target base or gains 3 combat. They'll destroy the central station. which is bad because that's combat they won't have to use to destroy the central base. So they'll hit me for another 6 and bring me down to 31. Not a good time for this to be starting to happen, but let's see if we can turn it around in round 9. Got a total of 5 trade and 1 combat. I'll scrap the Explorer to get 2 more because I need all the combat I can find right now. Take the boss down to 32. And 5 trade will be exactly enough to grab the Parasite, so I will. And then this will find a Lancer for 2 combat, or for 2 trade. 4 combat, if an opponent controls a base, gain an additional 2 combat, and ally ability for Star Empire, target opponent discards a card. So I'm at 31 right now. Boss is at 32, but it's about to be the boss's turn. I need to get some of these bases online and stick them. Because if I don't, this isn't going to last too much longer. This might not last too much longer anyway, but I'll have a better chance of it lasting my way if I can stick bases for a turn or 2. Let's see, 3, 4, 5. And let's see what we've got in here. Okay, we've got some serious firepower coming, but we need to see if it'll last. So that will get scrapped. And then this will replace it with a Loyal Colony for 7 trade. Gain 3 of each. Non-outpost strength of 6. And then the boss has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 combat, which it'll hit me with, bringing me down to 24. Right, so that'll be round 11 next, and yeah, we're going to find out what we can do here. This trade row is expensive, but not impossibly so. So I'll start off with the Predator, which will give me 4 combat. Battle Screecher to give me another 5 combat, and both ally abilities trigger. So I'll draw first. I will draw. Starbase Omega for 4 trade. If I played a base this turn, including this one, I get to draw a card. Let's see. 4, 5. I think we'll scrap these 2. I kind of want to try to buy the Loyal Colony this turn, but I know I'm going to be all in on that plan. Nope, those get scrapped. I wish I could gain them, but anyway. Going into the trade row first. Will be a Solar Skiff for 1 trade, 2 combat or 2 trade when you play it, ally ability, draw a card, and Mech Cruiser for 5 trade. 6 trade, you may scrap a card in your hand or discard pile when you play it. Ally ability, destroy target base. Alright, then I will play out the Starbase Omega. If I played a base this turn, including this one, draw a card, so I will draw. Another Scout, which is going to leave me 1 trade short of being able to get the Loyal Colony this turn. So I'll have a total of 6 trade. 1, 2, yeah, never mind. Okay, just making sure I had the right card count. So I'll grab the Solar Skiff for 1. I'll have 5 trade left after this, and I will find a Predator, another Predator, which I'll go ahead and grab that as well. So 3 trade left. Supply Depot for 6 trade. I can discard up to 2 cards. Get 2 or 2 for each card I discard this way. Trade or combat. Ally ability with Star Empire, draw a card. Then I'll use 2 of my last 3 trade to grab the Lancer. And then we'll replace that with a Gunship for 4 trade. 5 combat, target opponent discards a card. Scrap it for 4 trade. So that will float away. Then I'll hit the boss with 9 combat bring him down to 23. And I'll move all of this over to the discard pile. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we will get to slow the carnage down a little bit, but the supply depot will get scrapped. And then replacing it, and then joining the trade row, will be a repair bot for 2 trade. 2 trade, when you play it, you may scrap a card in your discard pile, scrap it for 2 combat. Then I will have to put a card back on top at random, but I'll deal with that in a second. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 6 of which has to go take out the Starbase Omega, and then the last 2 hits me down to 22. So we're on round 12 now, and we're going to figure out... this one looks like it's going to come down to the wire. So anyway, let's go for that. Putting a card back now is going to be super obnoxious, but there's no help for it at this point. Alright, we will put that one back, and we still have both our bases in hand, which is not great, but it's recoverable. So anyway, we'll go for 2 trade and 2 combat. Then we'll get 2 more trade. We'll hit the boss for 2, bringing him down to 21. And then 2 trade isn't going to let us do particularly much. It's a repair bot, I guess, which I'll probably be scrapping as fast as I can. But anyway, moving into the trade row, will be a Mega Hauler for 7 trade. 5 authority, acquire any ship without paying its cost and put it on top of your deck. Ally ability with the Trade Federation, draw a card. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Take a quick look at the hand. And ooh, we've got some good firepower coming, but we need to see if that's going to last. So that will move into the scrap pile for the boss. Everything will move down. And then joining the trade row will be a Stellar Reef for 2 trade. You get 1 when it's in for every turn it's in play. Scrap it for 3 combat and an outpost strength of 3. So for each player, the boss destroys a target base or gains 3 combat. So it has to go after the warning beacon, which is something, I guess. Then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 5 of that has to destroy the central station, and then the boss can hit me for 4, bringing me down to 18. So I'm picking up on the fact that I've got about 2 turns to kill this boss. So yeah, I think we're just going to have to... I think we're in total race mode at this point. But anyway, let's get into round 13 and see if we can finish the boss off. We'll start off with 2 star barges. Both ally abilities will trigger, so we'll go for this one first. I will draw a scout, which I will discard. Then this one will go off. I will draw a viper, which I'll discard a scout because I need all the combat I can find right now. Parasite, I'll take the 6 combat from that. And then 2 more vipers to bring me to a total of 4, 10, 12, which I'll hit the boss with and bring him down to 9. This one is most definitely coming down to the wire. There's 9, and for 4 trade, I will take the gunship. Then replacing that with a Fortress Oblivion for 3 trade. I think we saw this earlier in the game before it got scrapped. But anyway, move all this over to the discard pile. 1. This is coming right down to it. So the next turn is going to be the last turn, most likely going to be the last turn of the game in one way or the other. I would like to come into this with, I need at least 9 trade or a gauntlet for the boss to run. Like a base, basically a base sticking all the way through the boss's combat phase would be amazeballs right now. or into the boss's combat phase. Just something to blunt the blow. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's see what we've got in the hand. I think we can get there, but we got to see what the boss is doing. So first he's going to scrap that. Then everything will move down. Moving into the trade row will be an orbital platform. This actually isn't catastrophic. It's 3 trade, discard a card if you do draw a card. Ally ability gives you 3 combat, and a non-outpost strength of 4. So with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 combat, the boss will hit me with that, bringing me down to 8. Not quite 0, thankfully. The table's a little finicky, but anyway. Looking at the hand, I think we're going to pull this one out of the fire. So let's move into round 4. I believe that's round 14, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah. Round 14, and I think we're going to pull this off. So I do have to dump 2 cards because of the Star Empire card coming into the trade row. I'll dump 2 scouts, and then I'll play out a scout for 1 trade, which will probably do nothing, which actually doesn't even matter right now because I've got 10 combat from the Battle Screecher and the Battle Barge, which will hit the boss, which will hit the Nemesis Beast for almost exactsies and bring it down to -1. So I have won this game, somewhat surprisingly. It was looking pretty bleak for a while there, but anyway. That will do it for this playthrough of Star Realms. Sunday is actually Christmas Day, but I'm still going to record Sunday's video on Friday. We're going to play Gaia Project again. I hope everyone has a very Merry Christmas with whoever you're celebrating with. For next week's weeknight video, we're going to do something very different. We're going to go through our first play-along video of a roll and write for Blue Cocker Games. But I'll explain more about how that's going to work in next week's video. Next week, on Wednesday, we're going to play Welcome To. Thank you for watching the video. Please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Be sure to turn on notifications so you get my content. Be well, stay safe, take care of yourselves and your loved ones, and I'll be back with more videos in the future. Until then, take care everyone.